Hello YouTube, welcome to Rome 2 Total War one-on-one multiplayer action. I am Southern Wolverine, and this here is the general of my Syracusan army and his unit of picked hoplites. He is in the second line of melee infantry in my army, along with 2 units of these mercenary Samnite warriors. We have in the front line a line of various hoplite units, thorax hoplites, and then a bunch of these mercenary Etruscan hoplites, and another unit of thorax down here. The lead skirmish line is 3 units of Balearic slingers. The second line is 2 units of peltists. And bringing up the rear we have 2 units of mercenary Campanian cav, very good melee cav, and a unit of Hippeus lancers, which is a above average lancer unit. And on this map what we've got is we've got a bit of a rise in the middle here, so upon deployment neither me nor Sarah can see each other's armies. And she is running as Carthage, but to this point I have no clue what she's got. You see all my troops are hidden, and just like all of hers are hidden from me, so I'm just going to move the entire formation up onto the hill because I do have this steep rise to deal with on this side. You see it's reasonably steep and rough terrain, whereas this side's a little bit more gentle coming down. So I really wanted to get to this peak of the hill to try to get what advantage I could. I'm a little bit worried about running into an army just face to face here because I have a fair number of skirmishers and I want to get a use out of them. So you see I decided instead of a recon in force with all of my cavalry, I decided to simply send out this unit of Hippeus lancers to scout out the enemy position. You see, even though they look like they're damn near the top of this hill, they still don't have a line of sight on this whole area over here. Yes, right. So you see we got a whole big dark spot that we still haven't seen yet. Now we're finally getting it illuminated as those guys come up to the top of the hill. And we start to see the Carthaginian army take shape. We've got, I think there's 4 or 5 mercenary Cretan archers. We see a number of sword units that are kind of fading in and out because we still don't have a great line of sight on them. And I know that there's cavalry back here as well, and a couple and 3, I think, units of late Libyan hoplites. But I was already taking fire, and I was still maneuvering, so I pulled my army back to reform lines here. So we got the slingers still out front, and we're just kind of reforming this formation. The Hippeus lancers are coming up over there, and I'm kind of holding these Campanian cavalry back because I know they have not been spotted yet. And I'm hoping they might be able to spring an attack that will not be anticipated. Alright. So now I can't see, so I'm trying to move up again to regain contact and begin the skirmishing phase before I get jumped by a bunch of cavalry or something like that. So these mercenary Cretans have gone and gotten themselves a little bit exposed without spears nearby. They got this mercenary Italian sword unit nearby. So I'm going to run my cav strike here, and I'm going to call it off and kind of let these guys retreat behind their lines. If they're retreating, they're not shooting, so I'm okay with that for the moment. But I'm going to kind of keep running these guys along the front and look for a strike. And I'm going to get one here as I've kind of got between them and their supporting troops. For whatever reason, though, they don't penetrate very well. You know, they take this volley as those swords attempt to charge them. So for whatever reason, these Cretans don't actually take as much damage as I might have expected. But these units are kind of getting run away, and my Hippeus lancers are starting to take casualties from missiles, unfortunately. But they're going to continue their strike in at these guys, these Cretans, and do as much damage as they can. And they're driving them further and further away from friendly lines. So these Cretans are in quite a bit of trouble, actually. You see them just sprinting along there with their bows. Help is coming out. These mercenary Italian swordsmen, 2 units of them, are coming out to try to help out. And the Cretan archers are being pulled back, which is kind of drawing my cavalry back into the reinforcing infantry. But meanwhile, my slingers have begun to engage the Cretans that are still over here. And this unit is basically gone. and they haven't really done anything. They had one kill. This unit of Cretans is still strong though, so I'm going to turn my fire on it and try to wear it down. There are more Cretan archers than I have Balearic slingers, so I kind of needed that cavalry to help me gain an early advantage. So see, these guys are working me over, but they're also taking quite a bit of fire in return. So just trying to focus fire and knock these units down, see if I can't get these guys to rout, just like those other ones already routed. So that's ongoing, and I see that this force of cavalry has pulled up over here on my flank, which is 3 Carthaginian cavalry and 1 unit of mercenary Iberian cavalry. So all melee cav, and so I've pulled my hoplite line out, what was my first line, and I'm making it my flanking group. And since there's nothing but swords, or there's nothing but infantry at least in front of me, I'm leaving the 2 sword units and my picked hoplites, who are actually going to be decent against enemy infantry. I'm just going to leave them there. And meanwhile, this skirmish fight's going pretty well for me. See, these Cretans are pretty much destroyed. Although I've taken quite a bit of casualties out of my slingers. That one unit's about destroyed, this other unit's at half strength. My Peltas did run out and put some javelins into these Italian swordsmen, although it didn't do as much damage as I would have hoped. So I'm kind of using these hoplites as a screen against the cavalry. And these hoplites are starting to move out now to match my hoplites. And my Campanian cav are still holding in reserve. So the Hippeus Lancers are coming around for another attempt at these Cretans. And they're going to make the charge. Unfortunately, they're kind of coming uphill, which is going to slow them down a bit. And now these swords are going to turn around and try to get in. Not the perfect unit to counter, but that javelin throw is pretty good. It takes out, 5 or 6 of my guys. And these other swords are able to intercept. So these Hippeus Lancers are going to get kind of surrounded and swamped here. However, while that's happening, these swords are kind of far back from me, and I've got skirmishers in front of them who can avoid them. So I'm going to go ahead and move to engage these hoplite units with my swords while I can. So my swords and my picked hoplites should be able to take those guys out without too much difficulty. So I'm going to try to take this advantageous engagement while I can, especially since Sarah's still maneuvering these Carthaginian hoplites. And meanwhile, I'm just going to let my Etruscan hoplites go ahead and engage these Carthaginian hoplites in the center. I was hoping to catch these cavalry units, but she realizes that there's nothing but spears over here and that I've taken the initiative, so she's pulling these cavalry out, trying to get them into a better spot. I have gone and gotten a nice charge off in the center here with these Campanian cav. Since these guys aren't spears, look at that. Look at all those guys go flying. So, I mean, these guys lost, what, 40 guys in a matter of seconds. So these Campanian cav, with their bonus against infantry, so they have a 69 melee attack and a 15-point bonus for infantry. They are very good at stomping infantry. And rushing into these swords is exactly what they're good at doing. Meanwhile, my Balearic slingers are just kind of fighting a delaying action over here, trying to take out skirmishers and hold off these infantry. So we destroyed 1 unit, maybe 2, and beat these guys up pretty good. Meanwhile, the unit on the extreme right that was fighting 3 of my guys got flanked and routed, so I'm just kind of wrapping this up now. And these Samnite warriors are just beating up the Carthaginian hoplites. That's just that simple. They're a sword unit. They've got an advantage against enemy infantry. Spear units like this, and they're just beating them. And my hoplites on the far flank were able to just overwhelm them with numbers, get a good flank. And these picked hoplites are even doing pretty well, although they're fighting against these a combination of late Libyans and Libyan infantry. So once again, my skirmishers were really exposed, so even though it wasn't something maybe I prefer to do, I threw the cavalry back in, expecting that these various Carthaginian Iberian cav are going to counterattack, and sure enough, here they come. So this is going to leave these guys sort of pinned in place. However, my skirmishers were very exposed, so I was trying to protect them and what little ammunition they have left. However, there's still a basically, yeah, there's still an untouched unit of Carthaginian cav here that apparently just had a move order on while micromanagement was happening elsewhere, because these guys could very quickly have run down my peltists. We still have it. Actually, these peltists are out of ammo anyway, because you see they got their swords out. I have managed to get a screen of Etruscan hoplites in front of them, so I'm going to go ahead and just charge this unit of cavalry that is obviously not being paid much attention to at the moment. So that's going to get them tied up, and they're going to start to take losses against these pretty solid spear units. And yeah, so this has kind of turned into a melee with a couple cavalry units and a sword unit. So I'm going to try to bring in hoplites to reinforce. And my infantry units are just kind of coming up to try to join this fight. Now this Carthaginian cav has gone into wedge, which I'm not sure I would have done, but it will help knock these guys out even faster than it would have. But they're going to come out here after my skirmishers, which is a decent idea. These guys are completely exposed. All my infantry is pretty much engaged. These guys have at least some ammo left because they got their javelins out, but they probably don't have more than 2 or 3 shots left, so this isn't that big a loss. Now, for running down skirmishers, these guys should not have been in the wedge, because they would have been wide. They would have been able to run through these guys a little bit better. And so these swords are also trying to run them out, and they might have been better used in this fight as well. Although at this point I've already got a pretty significant infantry advantage. So these guys are kind of running out to the side now in order to get a nice encircle on these units that are here in this fight. So let's go ahead and watch this unfold for a bit. So you just got a whole bunch of these Campanian cav duking it out. Infantry from both sides reinforcing. The noble cavalry are coming in to try to turn the fight for the Carthaginians. It's just not going to be enough with all these hoplites coming in. There is a nice rear charge from these Carthaginian cavalry here. And there's still a couple of infantry units unengaged for Carthage. But it's a little bit too late, as these mercenary Italian swordsmen are already breaking under the weight of the numbers of the attack. And the noble cavalry here is getting overwhelmed. Even with their bonus versus large, these Campanian cavalry are still beating them, with the help of the hoplites especially. And these Carthaginian cav break before this Etruscan hoplites even able to come into the back and finish them off. And that's going to do it, as the army casualties are going to cause a mass rout. Also, the general had been killed in there at the final moments. So, yeah, this one was this is a pretty brutal fight. Carthage got pretty well surrounded and outmaneuvered there by the end, and I was able to get the matchups I wanted. It was really what it amounted to. The Hippeus Lancers didn't run down those archers quite as well as I expected them to, honestly, but they still were able to keep them from fighting there, get some good disruption strikes. Knocked a couple of units out, or knocked one unit out and damaged some others. The Campanian cav, these guys are good. They really are good. And they were able to get into sword units, which is exactly where I want them, and beat the hell out of them, basically. Likewise, these two Samnite warriors were fighting mostly against hoplites, and they were able to do quite a bit of damage against those units. The hoplites held the line, didn't take a lot of losses. These are pretty well armored units, the Thorax and the mercenary Etruscan hoplites. And the picked hoplites did actually a fair bit of damage. They have actually a pretty good attack. So you see the Carthaginian cavalry was not able to accomplish much. Other than this one unit of skirmishers, these guys are pretty much neutralized. And some of these swords were just absolutely destroyed by that cavalry charge. So, yeah, generating the matchups I wanted was basically what won that fight for me. In any case, good game to Sarah. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please go ahead and hit the like button on the video, comment, subscribe. I am Southern Wolverine, wishing you all a good day.